Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I'm Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads.
How's it going today?
It is going well, actually.
Yeah.
Quite energized.
Yeah.
Even though it is late, as always.
Right. We do these after hours.
We do.
Yeah.
Full day of work.
Yeah.
Good day of full day of work.
Production.
Yes. I felt somewhat productive. I'm always very critical of myself. So.
You are, but that because it propels you forward, I feel like.
Sometimes.
Or keeps you back. One of the two.
You're not in my head, so you don't know. Sometimes it does propel me forward. As I say on the podcast, I have to look at the total journey from where maybe I was a certain time ago to where I am now.
Personal
rather
timelines.
than just like looking at the day and go, why did I not feel like I accomplished conquering the world today?
How come I don't own the universe?
Rome was built in a day. It was one day. The entire Rome was built. So, So some new things happening. Well, my son had a birthday.
Yeah.
Big 8th birthday.
Eight's a great age.
It was a Michael Jackson themed birthday, if you can believe it.
You know what's so awesome about your son, aside from many things, I'm sure, that he loves Michael Jackson.
And
the music.
I like to take that pride in the fact of maybe where he learned that.
Yeah.
So we had introduced
the
him.
80s kids.
We had introduced him to that music, some time ago, and since then we've seen some concerts. The Jackson 4.
Oh, really?
Concert.
Yeah.
We went to Las Vegas and saw the show. Yeah. But I will tell you, and I definitely want to put a link to this person's.
Yeah.
We had a Michael Jackson impersonator come to the party.
Right.
And no joke, this guy was incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Has it down.
Yeah.
Did like 5 costume changes.
That's great.
And was so good to the kids and like just nice. And I mean, even his entrance was like epic. Yeah. Like just how he came up.
Spun in.
He's in the Smooth Criminal outfit. Yeah. I mean, it was, and of course, all the parents there were just in awe.
Yeah. They're all around the same generation, I would
totally.
imagine.
Yeah. Everybody knows all the songs. Yeah. And some of the kids are like, who's that?
Yeah.
Just because their parents may have not, introduced him.
Yeah.
My son knows like every line.
That's hilarious.
Oh, it was just so good. So, and then the gentleman, it's Rem J Experience is his business.
Yeah.
He does this. I mean, this is what he does full time. And he came from LA.
Yeah.
And he was so talented and so good.
Well, the picture you showed me, he looks really authentic.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, the guy
he looks the part.
Yeah. I recommend, granted, this is a podcast about dads and stuff, but I want this guy to have so much business. Like and he does. He's booked at like bigger events and corporate events and things like that.
Right.
But he was just really made the party awesome.
Yeah.
And
That's
so, great experience. My son had a fantastic time, and everybody had fun. So that was something new that happened.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I'm good. I don't think anything new's happened except the amount of work I've been doing. It's been ridiculous. I mean, it's all good stuff. I mean,
well, if you want something done, give it to someone who can do it, right? Just keep piling it on until you can't handle it.
I'm going to be doing a couple of workshops for the university, and I did a training for another company fairly recently. So a lot of stuff's going on, a lot of great stuff, but
and then you get to come here.
And I get to come here. This is my fun.
So we have an interesting episode called Parenting Debates to Solve Before Having a Baby.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of debates that, a parent will have, or different thoughts that maybe the husband versus wife will have. And so one of the things I wanted to touch on was these are things that should be discussed prior to having the baby. Don't wait until the baby is born until you go, oh, maybe we should have thought of that.
Okay.
So that's the idea.
This is good. This is good.
Well, yeah. I mean, and some of them are a lot of bit funny.
Yeah.
Some of them are not.
Okay.
Some of them get to downright serious.
Okay.
I don't want to spark any arguments. So if you guys do have arguments over these things, don't come to me.
Right. Don't blame.
I'm just telling you what you should discuss prior to having a baby.
Take responsibility.
Right. Some sort of disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly.
And these, a lot of these appeared on parents.com, which I got some of it from. But,
okay.
But I want to talk about some of these. So first one, timing for the baby. Is now the right time?
Sure.
Believe it or not, a lot of people don't talk about that because one, they just get pregnant accidentally or that kind of thing.
That happens a lot.
I think the answer to this is that there's never a perfect time.
Right.
So that you will debate, and often debate is saying, well, after I finish this, or when I get to this place, or when, and the reality is that I don't think there is a perfect time. It's going to differ for everybody. Dr. Alan Singer, who's a very famous parenting writer and author, wrote Creating Your Perfect Family Size, and that's what some of this article is based on. Yeah. It had 92 questions to evaluate yourself and whether the timing and all that was right. Right. So it's something there's obviously a lot of thought that can go into that of like, am I ready to do this? Right. Is this something that are we both ready? And having that discussion.
I think I agree on there is no perfect time thing, but I also agree that you kind of have to be prepped. At least at the very least, I really want to do this. Sure. And then dive in. Right. That type of thing.
Yeah, I think mental preparation. I think if you're in two different spots, you're going to have some trouble. It's where one is like, I'm not so sure I want to do that. Yeah. And then the other one, and that's an obvious thing. I think those rates of divorce we talked about when one doesn't want it or one, so you've got to be on board with that. And so that's kind of an obvious discussion. For sure. The second is the division of labor or the division of duties. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we'll just all do it and we'll share and we'll do these kinds of things. I can tell you in my house, this actually did work pretty well. Okay. At least for me.
Can't speak for anyone else in the house. Yeah, no. It probably worked for me.
No, I'm just basically, there's bath, there's bedtime stories, there's diaper changing, there's feedings, there's all these things that can be somewhat coordinated. I mean, it can't be perfect, but it can be somewhat coordinated to say, okay, I'm going to take this time. You're going to take this time. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. And if you have a fairly organized house, that's a good way to do it. Yeah. Some people, the structure might kill them. Right. But for a baby, it's proven that structure helps. Okay. It helps them fall asleep. It helps them. They're feeding. I mean, you want some sort of regularity. And in the hospital, they're going to tell you that. They're like, you should feed them at 9, 12. I mean, it's a regular thing. Yeah. But then there's other people with the philosophy is just like, well, you just do what's on demand. They sleep when they want to sleep. You eat when they want to eat. So there's a little bit more laissez-faire attitude.
Yeah. I always wondered that, and maybe you can speak to this, but if a baby's sleeping, do you wake him up to feed him?
Well, so that's I always had heard, no, never wake a sleeping
baby. Right, let them sleep.
Right.
And try to sleep when they're sleeping.
Right. And I think for the most part we did that. But then, it depends if you're scheduling. Now there's become situations where you're like, well, we have to go to a family function. So can we just transfer them while sleeping? And that becomes an issue. Or people will say, well, we'll be there after our baby gets up from the nap. I mean, that's a common thing. Like that's you start to, I mean, it's like traffic. You only make the decisions based on the traffic. You end up making decisions as a parent based on the sleep pattern of the child or the feeding pattern of the child. Yeah. So it is something that the division of labor and the division of those duties is something that you're going to want to talk about. Like, let's say the wife is breastfeeding. And that's why I said in my case, we decided, hey, I'm working full time. So two of us shouldn't be zombies. Right. Because you're going to lose a lot of sleep. So on our second child, especially my wife, I mean, she did all the feeding at night. And, and for her, that was the time of bonding with the baby and doing that. I probably missed out on some of that, but I got sleep. Right. I mean, so, and that necessarily wasn't as important for me to do a feeding out of a bottle, which I could do during the day or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just coordinating with each other. It's like, okay. And then, and then understanding for each other, what else do you need? Like, as an example, if the wife is up in the middle of the night, she's going to need some time to sleep. Yeah, for sure. So then you're taking the other time and saying, okay, now she needs to sleep and do that. So it's coordinating that stuff rather than there being sort of this surprise of like, well, how are we going to handle it?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what all this is about.
Of course.
The next thing, should you co-sleep? So co-sleeping means the baby sleeping in your bed.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not telling you whether you should or you shouldn't. Okay. It's more,
make a decision.
Is that something that you want to do?
Yeah.
So both parties would probably want to be comfortable with that. And you should probably consider that before you talk, before you have the child. It's like, is the baby going to be in a bassinet in the room? Is the baby going to be in the bed? Which is, there's some Academy of Pediatrics says don't put the baby in the bed. Yeah. So there's some arguments with that. But you have to decide what's right for you. Yeah. And everyone's different with that. The other is, just in general, sharing your room. Like with our first child, very sort of North American. Baby is in their own room, door closed,
right.
Whatever.
In a crib or something.
In a crib. But versus our second child slept in our room next to the bed.
Oh, okay.
And because feedings were way easier. You didn't have to get up. You don't have to.
Yeah.
All kinds of, just everybody's
more
different.
Efficient. You've optimized your baby feedings.
I have friends where the babies were, sleeping with them for much longer periods of time, even a couple of years. It works for them. As long as whatever works for everybody, and that's the decision you have to talk about.
For sure.
Does the husband and the wife agree this is how we're going to do it, and try it, and try and see if it works. For me, having the child sleep in the bed, I don't know that I would like that. That's just for me. One of it being, I know my children are not quiet sleepers.
Right.
Or they move around or whatever. And I'm a light sleeper that way. So it's like, I would get no sleep. I would end up going somewhere else.
Right. For sure.
So for me, that probably wouldn't work.
Right.
Circumcision, if it's a boy.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. They say it's on a decline, the rate of it. But for many religious or cultural reasons, or they'll say, well, if dad had it, they want him to look like dad. Total personal decision.
Yeah.
But that's probably something you should talk about if you're going to have a boy.
Yeah.
Because you need to decide it right away when the child's born.
You don't want to do it when they're 12.
You're not going to want to wait. Although I guess there are situations where you can do that.
Yeah. Probably don't want it. Yeah. The kid's not going to enjoy it at that
The video can see our facial expressions. But so that's something you want to talk about, and if it is part of your religion or cultural, aspects, you want to make that, and then I'm guessing that the husband may have more of an opinion than the wife. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not.
No, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah. Another one, should you bank your baby's cord blood? Now, if you're not familiar with this, it's collecting stem cells.
Okay.
So what they do, and this is a great, there's so many things that are sold to you when you're about to have a baby.
Would you like the umbilical cord?
Right. So within that is, and I'm not a doctor. I play one on the radio. But basically they collect stem cells and are able to potentially use that in the future. And that is the time where they're able to collect it. Is at the time of birth. Okay. Like in the the umbilical cord and everything else. So they will bank it and you pay for that service.
Oh wow.
So you actually pay, and we did.
Yeah.
We got sold. My wife's a nurse. And so it's like, of course we're going to do that. Okay. I didn't even understand it or whatever, but she wanted to do it, and then you end up paying $100 and something per year or whatever it is to bank it and actually keep it in a frozen embryonic, whatever it is.
Cryogenic.
Yes.
Whatever.
Supposedly it's something that in the future, if he needs to regenerate an arm, then maybe that we can do that.
No, you severed an arm again.
Right. It's like Deadpool. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's got the little tiny hand. Just saw that on the plane.
Did you?
Again, great movie.
Well, there's a lot of research with stem cells that are being used for a lot of treatments now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's controversial.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more, reality. So, a religion. Yes. So, will you teach your child about a certain religion? And so if you have two different religions in the family, or you have one, or is it going to be an important aspect if it's just a holiday type of thing versus going to some regular services?
Yeah.
How do you want to do that? And sometimes, and I've seen this with some couples, they weren't as concerned about religion until their baby was born. And they thought, you know what, I kind of want to bring them up in this way.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, religion became a little bit more important. So that is something to think about.
I remember in college, I was in a class in my freshman year, I think, and the couple, there was a couple in our class, but one of the girls was talking about, it's kind of an emotional time where she came from like a Protestant family and he came from kind of a regular Catholic, and there was some friction with their families. And I'm going, Oh my God, that's like almost the same thing, isn't it? I didn't understand why there was such friction. My, sensibilities obviously weren't as honed as they are now, right. But that could be an issue as you're growing up. Two families come bombarding, let alone two completely different religions.
Right.
So that's a whole. Well,
different holidays and different services or different things. A lot of that I wouldn't say is worked out, but when you are getting married, you kind of consider a lot of that because you're thinking about children and stuff. So it is a conversation that you're going to want to have if you're getting serious and you're getting married, because you're saying, well, if I'm going to have children, what are we going to do with that? That's a conversation that you're going to want to have.
Yeah.
So, this is an interesting one too. Cloth diapers versus disposables.
Yeah.
So disposable diapers, they estimate cost about $1,500 to $2,000 per year.
Yeah.
For one child. Wow. I'm going to have to say that's conservative.
I was going to say, because it depends on how much that baby unloads.
I told you, remember, 10 times in one day, not a problem.
Wow.
It's
a healthy eater.
Cloth diapers, $300 to $800, but a lot more maintenance.
A lot more maintenance,
and that doesn't necessarily include the washing and the cleaning and all that stuff. So that could be it's an environmental decision. It can be a cleanliness decision. However, there's a lot of different reasons why people will do it. I'm not here to say whether good or bad, or which one is better, but you've got to make that decision. And I don't say you have to make that decision. It's like a life or death situation, but it is something you're going to be faced with. And how do you want to do it? Now, I will say we went the disposable route, probably just based on convenience.
Right.
But I thought, a lot of people had said cloth diapers, they learn to potty train much easier and earlier because they have to sit in it. Longer. It's like versus all these commercials for diapers. It's like they won't even know it's there. And it's like it absorbs, and it's like, well, now you want the baby to kind of know it's there because it's like
cool
this is not comfortable. So there's arguments on both sides.
I can see that.
And for people who don't want to clean out dirty diapers,
that's no fun. But I don't know. There's something about cloth diapers that's becoming more appealing to me. And then I went fairly recently to a place where there's villages, and I imagine that's what they do. They don't put Pampers on.
Well, disposable diapers create a tremendous amount of waste.
A lot of waste.
Yeah.
A lot of waste.
And then you talk about the diaper genie,
Oh, right. Yeah. I think that sucks all the stink out of it or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well,
did we talk about that in the previous episode?
Yes,
Look back at a few episodes.
I don't want to go back. My kids are no longer in diapers. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm past that stage. Thank goodness. Another thing, who will care for your child? So that is something to consider too. Like, are you interested in getting a nanny? Are you interested in, part-time babysitters? Are you going to need that? Whether, the parents are working, daycare, family members,
right? Those
kinds of things become issues. You don't really realize that it's an issue until it occurs. But, as an example, costs.
Yep.
If you have a full-time nanny or a part-time nanny, you have to, and if let's say one of the people in the marriage works or both work, you have to take that in consideration because there are times, depending on your pay, that may not make financial sense,
right?
To hire somebody. At the same time, sometimes it makes emotional sense where you get out of the house and to do it and to be sane and if you really enjoy your work. So those are a lot of considerations that you want to think about and then who will do it. So it's not even like, do you want someone to do that, but who's going to do it? And, and family, that can cause a little bit of friction when you then are relying on other people to and then they can't do it. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen.
Yeah. Or there's some plus parts about that having.
Oh, absolutely. Around, no, absolutely.
They'll be glad to in a lot of cases.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and you want to talk about that. You want to be open about it and communicate. If you haven't gotten the theme, it's about communication and talking about it.
For sure.
Another one, breastfeeding or formula. Now there are situations, of course, where people don't have a choice of that because they can't.
They can't breastfeed.
But then there's huge arguments for bonding and nutrients and lower costs. I can tell you from my own experience, a tremendous amount of lower costs if you can do it.
I can't believe how much formula it was.
That's what I told you. It's locked up in the safe, behind key in the stores because it's the most stolen product in a
because it's so
store.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's something.
Wow.
So, I mean, we used to call it, the liquid gold. It's like, you freeze it.
Texas tea.
You would, because they do extra pumping. We'd freeze it. Put it. I mean,
right.
and it's something that it saves a lot of money. From doing
if you can do the breastfeeding.
And so you're not looking. You look at, like you said, third world countries. It's like they're not buying formula left and right. It's like you feed it child. But there are situations where you can't. There's situations where you have allergies. There's situations where you're allergic. All kinds of stuff where the mom can't produce the milk. That's a big thing too.
Yeah.
So those are all taken into consideration, and you just want to be aware of that. And as the dad or the male, be very sensitive to it. That's the advice I can get. It's like, you may have an opinion. You might want to back off a little bit on that one.
Don't fight on this one.
Right. If she's not feeling comfortable with doing it, okay. If she really wants to do it, okay. You're not the one that's being...
Exactly. You only have so much saying it before it's like, well, that's your body.
Yeah, you're not the one that's, where the child is there all the time and wanting the food. So, and then you have to provide it. And there's a lot of pressure. I sense that from our situations, and then also talking with other people, that there's a lot of pressure in society too, of like women feeling like they have to do something, like they have to breastfeed for a certain amount of time, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it's supposed to be a positive thing, and so and that's, I think, probably leads to the difficulty sometimes with production and that kind of thing. If you're stressed out, I mean, your body just shuts down
for sure,
and that's not something you want for your child. So
right.
So that's something. And then another one is sort of the final, thing that you want to consider or talk about is the type of discipline that you're interested in.
Right.
For me, I went to classes. Because I wanted to learn this one.
Sure.
I really had an interest in understanding, it's like, how do you discipline and how do you do that? But I will tell you that, the first couple of years, you're kind of just you're along for the ride.
Sure.
Not as a man. I'm just saying both parents are sort of just like surviving. I actually just had this conversation with somebody where, from 0 to 3 to 4, probably more 3-ish, but up to 4, you are just trying to hang on. And there's not a tremendous amount that you can do that affects things. I mean, there definitely is aspects to where what you do affects your children.
Yeah.
And early on, it does affect them, but there's the ability to change stuff when they're that early.
Yeah.
So it's, and that's a hard thing to keep in mind as a dad or as a parent in general. You think it's forever. It's like, my child's not listening to me when they need to go to sleep. It's probably not going to last forever, but you think that it's lasting forever. So that's something, the type of discipline, are you into positive reinforcement? I hope not into spanking, but that people are like, well, that's what my parents did and it worked. Either way, talk about it. And I do have an opinion on all that. But,
for sure. And we've talked about it previously, but there is also like, when do you do what? Type of thing, like what age do they start X, and I think there's a thing that people, kind of in line with that discipline. Right. It also may mean like when they're a teenager, are they allowed to wear makeup? It's topics that we've talked about previously. And I think that's the kind of decisions that are going to eventually evolve. But I guess this is more about the beginning stages.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you want to raise your child,
right?
What is your philosophy on that?
Conservative, liberal.
And I do suggest, people will read books or go to classes, and I think that's okay, because you got to see what works for you. Yeah. The best thing is what works for you and your child. It's what do you want your child to become, and how do you want your relationship to be, and how do you want to treat them? And there are certain types of discipline, if you call it discipline, that definitely have different effects, and there's long-term studies of that. I mean, you can look at that stuff. So, and that's what we talk about is, empathy and discussion and all of these things that we are talking about and that we're about. Those to me are the important ones. But you guys, as a couple, you have to decide what works for you.
For sure.
So these are all, very, very important things. Yeah. I'd like to hear some other potential, areas of debate, if you will.
It'd be cool to hear from any couples out there that similar
Shoot
issues.
us an email, podcast@dudestodads.com, Twitter, Dudes to Dads, and Facebook, Dudes to Dads.com.
5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Go there and leave comments. At least subscribe and listen to our show. And then if you can give us a comment or two, even if it's just to say thanks.
Yeah. No, I went there. I just went there the other day and saw that we had some additional reviews.
Yeah.
I was going to talk to you about that.
That's great.
There's some additional reviews.
That's really
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
We do like to get the feedback and understand, what's working and what's not working. So, let us know. Like I said, shoot us an email, podcast@dudestodads.com, and we will be sure to answer.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's it for this one.
That's it for this episode. We're gonna be coming back with more though.
Yes.
Next week.
Yeah, I think so. Whew. Yeah.
I got to prep.
Do the stretches right now.
I'm gonna pull a hamstring. All right,
a hammy.
And with that, on behalf of Alan and myself, have a good week. See you guys.
Take care.